So Swami and I are going to, in the next 10-12 minutes, go over how we've been using in our lab biomarkers and a little beyond to predict ROP. So retinopathy of prematurity, first of all, why do we need prediction? Because there are plenty of babies, more than 35 lakh babies born every year. And when you look at the number of examinations that are required, in just Karnataka, we've now crossed about 200,000 imaging sessions and over 3,000 babies screened. Our model is, of course, a telemedicine model where images are taken and uploaded. And since a majority of these babies don't have the disease, a lot of them are going to be called at frequent intervals for follow-up, which they may not require, or at least you should be able to reduce the frequency of their follow-up. So just going back to that number, 3.5 million babies means almost 17 million exams in the country. A lot of these babies, even when we've decentralized the ROP program, it means that they do have to travel from their taluk levels, houses or hospitals to a district level. And this would mean unnecessary travel, which will a logistic issue, a financial issue, and of course, a clinical issue as well. Unfortunately, ROP is multifactorial. We've been trying our best to predict this was one of our initial attempts where the amount of weight loss that babies had and they regained it, we were able to somewhat correlate which of these babies will eventually end up getting the disease and getting disease that require treatment. But of course, the lure of the non-invasive biomarker was big, and this is work done at our GROW lab. So we started off, and the TIA work in the GROW lab has been extensively used by Arco's group for anterior segment and cornea. And we began to attempt this a few years ago, where we were taking the TIAs and using the same setup that they had to analyze these markers. Now, this was initially a little bit of trial and error. We did not know what would get expressed and how that would correlate clinically. All these abbreviations here are pro-angiogenic factors, they're cytokines, they're chemokines, and they're adhesion molecules. We'll break that up briefly. But what's important in this animation is to show you that at the very first visit of these screening sessions, by taking their TIAs and analyzing them, we were somewhat, and then of course, serially following them up, we were able to predict which of these babies will eventually get the disease and which of them will get the disease that will require treatment. So to summarize what we've learned from our TIA studies, I'll invite my co-speaker, Dr. Swaminathan. Swami, over to you, please.
Thank you, Dr. Anand, and good evening, everyone. So one of the most important lure for molecular markers is to catch it before it manifests. Like, can we find anything which can preempt what is to come? So therefore, we looked at the pro-angiogenic factors, whether these levels get altered even before we can capture it on the imaging system. And what you see here is clearly there is low level of VEGFs were observed in infants with ROP compared to infants without ROP at the first screening visit. What is more important here is the center orange bar. It is those infants who just came to the first screening and they did not have ROP, but later developed ROP, had significantly lower levels of VEGF. And what this means is the mechanism behind is the vaso-obliteration. Immediately after premature birth, it is hypothesized that there is going to be a decrease in VEGF, and we could actually capture that. And in the next slide, what we're going to show is, in addition to VEGF, we wanted to see an additional pro-angiogenic factor. We wanted to see a shadow, not just depend on just one factor. And for everyone's knowledge, angiogenin was the first pro-angiogenic factor which was discovered in 1985, followed 4 years later by VEGF. So we took both of them into consideration. And what you can see is that the angiogenin level was also high in ROP, and a similar pattern. When it came to those babies who are progressing with a progressive form of a disease versus a regressing form of a disease, what you can see here is both VEGF and angiogenin levels were much lower in the first visit in those babies who went on to progress or develop a more severe form of VEGF compared to those who were regressing. But what is most important is to connect the molecular factors to clinical factors. So what we have chosen here is to see its association with birth weight. And among all the various angiogenic factors we measured by multiplex ELISA, what you can see here is angiogenin, which has got a significant negative correlation with birth weight. compared to others. And so was the case with gestation age as well. So angiogenin came as one of the lead factors. And how can we use this for clinical decision-making in stratifying those babies with and without ROP? And we plan to integrate both angiogenin and the clinical factor, personalize it to every baby. Therefore, we took the angiogenin birth weight or angiogenin gestation age ratio. And what you can see in the ROC curve with a significant amount of sensitivity and specificity, you can actually use this as a predictive model. So at the first time when you come in, you can actually take the tiers and you can measure these and make this particular ratios in front of you. And what happens next is what Dr. Anand is going to tell you, how can we use this clinically? But before that, if anybody is interested in more detail, please do refer to this article, which is available online. And this work was particularly done by our excellent team, Arshana Tanuja, Priyanka Chavor, and Anupam Sharma. I need to thank them, including Dr. Shivani. And Dr. Anand, please help us how you are going to take this information to the clinics.
Thank you, Swami. So you've seen now our results. So now how do we take it to the clinics? Well, this is work in progress. Along with all the tier work that we've been doing, we hope to make a point of care kit so that the tiers collected in the outreach areas in our program, we are going to be analyzing it there itself. I think Dr. Nayak brought it out very beautifully that unless we make this accessible and affordable, it's not going to work if we have to be relying on the lab all the time. So I think that's as far as the tier biomarkers are concerned. How can we predict ROP using functional markers? This is one of our recent publications in TVST, where we looked at examining contrast using this rather novel method that was not being used before in preterm babies. And we were able to correlate contrast done during the acute ROP screening time with their disease correlation later. So just by lower contrast, we were able to predict what stage and what severity they would have later. And even more interestingly, contrast was correlated with visual acuity measured using the Teller acuity and the usual systems months later. So this is something that right at the first and second visit, there may be functional changes going on in the retina which help us predict what's going to happen later. As far as imaging markers are concerned, this is some good work that we've been collaborating with a lot of engineering and associated scientists. We've been able to take images, work on them to get more enhanced features, automated diagnosis of severity like plus disease. But what's really important is using machine learning and deep learning tools to not only detect disease, but detect it early. And this means that even before the disease would go into a stage that requires treatment, the features that we were able to pick up will help us predict that. But again, it makes sense only if we are able to integrate it with our telemedicine program, because as scores of images come out from different centers, it has to go through the AI algorithm and then help us predict which of these babies will need treatment. This is some of the work that has been published. Look at the images below are the automated detection, which is going on directly through machine learning without any expert looking at it. The accuracy is in the early 90s, and of course we can improve, and that's the work in progress. ROP is a disease we can make an impact, certainly because we are treating and screening these babies at a very early age. And when you use the blind person years, more than 700 crores of blind person years or fiscal equivalent of blindness can be prevented in our country alone just by screening and treating babies in the 10 most populous states that have the ROP problem. And that's the impact, the social impact of making a prediction. On behalf of Swami and the entire KidDrop and the GrowLab team, thank you very much.